The spoilers are out for My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 347, and let's just say that in this chapter, or what we see with the spoilers, yeah, there's gonna be a lot more fingers coming from Shigaraki, like a literal tidal wave of fingers, which will most likely tie into the end of this chapter. Not the fingers, but the tidal wave, and you'll see why that's the case, but first, right after this. Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Manga Man Drew, and I'm here to talk about the spoilers for My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 347, and from what we see with the title of this chapter, it's going to be called Inflation, and it's most likely referring to the fact that Shigaraki's hand, or his fingers, are literally everywhere in this chapter, both figuratively and very, very literally. So yeah, from what we see with the spoilers for My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 47, we're going to have a strong focus and continuing off what we saw last chapter involving Shigaraki and an explanation of what the heck is going on with his fingers, as well as the involvement and the understanding of what the heroes are going to do against Shigaraki and how Deku is going to get more involved in it, even though he is, no longer at UA and is somewhere else, where we get an explanation for where he is and what's going to be going on with him and the trials and tribulations that he may be facing, not just there, but how he may be getting back to the original plan of stopping Shigaraki. So, with that quick summary out the way, let's actually dive more into the spoilers proper. So, from what we see with the text spoilers, we see that the chapter will begin with the heroes asking Monoma if something went wrong with Erasure because of the hands that start coming out of Shigaraki. Monoma says no, but Shigaraki is still unable to use quirks, and Tomura himself explains that it's just a growth of his body. Just as people's hairs and fingernails grow, his flesh is expanding. This is because of the effect of the evolution of the quirks in his body, and is the end result of the singularity point theory researched by Dr.STONE. So, a lot of things that can come out of just that text spoilers alone. First of all, the reveal of what's going on with Shigaraki's fingers and how it's not necessarily a quirk, but it's now a part of his actual body, which, from what we know with Erasure, it cannot erase like physical body parts, even if they are tied to quirks. Second, that this explanation involves like the quirk singularity theory, or in this translation, the singularity point theory that was proposed by Dr. Shigaraki. So we get a little bit more of that and how that could be playing a role in what's going on with Shigaraki, which could also imply that we're going to learn more about this, if not in this fight, towards the end of this series. So that's going to be something interesting that is being set up in this chapter from what we see with the spoilers. And what we see later on with the next paragraph of the text spoilers, we see that this is something that Shigaraki himself understands, but that the heroes may not know, because from what we see with the text spoilers, Shigaraki says that this is the future that awaits superhuman society, and that the heroes don't understand the real implications of all of this. Mirko's mechanical arm and leg have been destroyed, but she shouts spares, and a compartment comes out of the ground, giving her replacement limbs to equipped. She tells Bakugo not to rush into anything, and the two start arguing because Bakugo wants to be called the Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite. Genus interrupts these fools and asks them to focus. Monoma assures Aizawa that he hasn't failed and continues to erase Shigaraki's quirks. Aizawa knows it, but is worried. We see that Mandalay is also there, and she says Midoriya has contacted her through her telepathy quirk. He tells Aizawa that he has been pulled by Toga into the Okuto Island. Just as he is about to ask Monoma to open another portal, a scream is heard and the communication is cut off. So from what we get with this chunk of the text spoilers, we're going to get some cool, interesting, and funny banter between Bakugo, or should I say Dynamite, and Mirko, as well as we're diving to an explanation for why Deku can't just use the portals to get to where they are right now, and potentially how this is going to be a very difficult fight without him, and what the heroes are going to be having to face, and not just face Shigaraki on his own. So it's not going to be a repeat exactly of what happened in the war, because of Shigaraki having this new development of having these multiple fingers coming out and being used to fight alongside him. And for what we see with the next paragraph of the text spoilers, Aizawa is thinking about the limits of Monoma's quirk. he can't copy and use two quirks simultaneously. So to open a portal, he would have to turn off the erasure for at least 10 seconds before turning it back on. In that moment, if Shigaraki uses decay, it will be all over. Aizawa then contacts Midoriya again and asks him to get to UA on his own, since it won't be possible to open any more portals. Meanwhile, they will try to defeat Shigaraki even without the help of One For All, and we see a panel showing the 6 heroes who are in battle with a determined expression. So, this is very interesting. Like I said, we get confirmation for why Deku won't be able to use the portals to get back there immediately, which is going to most likely add more tension to the fight, as the heroes that are there are going to all have to fight against Shigaraki, and that this could potentially build and lead to some of these characters being heavily injured or even potentially dying if Deku doesn't get there soon enough. So it's very interesting that we're going to most likely see this tension being built up in this fight, but from what we see with the other parts of the spoilers, we're actually going to have to cut away from the fight between Shigaraki and the Pro Heroes and focus on where Deku is and how potentially he's going to get back to UA. So we get to the next part of the tech spoilers, where we have a scene that cuts over to Okuto Island, which is 200 kilometers off the coast of the Pacific Ocean. The Okuto Aquarium is the main tourist attraction there and is well known both in Japan and abroad. Gang Orca is the director of the aquarium, and that is where the battle is taking place. We see him shouting for others to dodge, and then a large-scale attack coming from a Nomu. The upper part of his body is floating in the air, while the others are spread out around him and stretching towards the ground, generating huge waves. Also, there is Moonfish, the tooth villain that was defeated by Tokuyami during the Forest Training Camp arc. He is dressed differently and is giving the heroes a hard time. Sirius asks Tsuyu if she is okay, and she confirms but says that Deku and Uraraka were separated from the rest of the group after the last blow. So from here, we get a few interesting tidbits of information. First of all, we get the reappearance of Moonfish, which is very cool, but as well as the fact that we get the first appearance, I believe, in the canon proper of a filler character from the My Hero Academia anime via Cyrus. So it's very interesting to see how Hirokoshi has incorporated the anime and the movies into the manga proper, and how he has somewhat made these characters and those sort of stories canon. So it's cool that we're going to see that potentially in this chapter, but we also get some more information and confirmation about where the heroes are fighting when it comes to the island where Uraraka and Froppy were sent, and for what we're going to see with the next part and the final part of the tech spoilers, how this is going to be very much a hindrance on Deku when it comes to getting back to UA. Because the final part of this chapter says that Uraraka asked what Aizawa answered, and Deku says that he will have to go to UA on his own. Ochako is about to tell him to hurry, but Toga appears and tries to cut him off. She asks him not to leave because she loves him, and Deku can't understand why Danger Sense didn't activate even when a knife was coming his way. He remembers the conditions of activation and the fact that the danger has to be assimilated as a real danger. He asks Toga what she wants from him, and she replies that she would like him to become her boyfriend. Deku then finally understands that she hurts other people out of the pure sense of admiration and love, so the danger sense does not pick up on it as a dangerous intent. End of chapter. So with this last part of the spoilers, and most likely the last part of this chapter, we get a little bit more understanding of how Danger Sense works and why it isn't affected by Toga. And we potentially get set up for what Deku is going to need to do, potentially, to get off of this island and head off to UA. He's going to have to try and find a way to shake off Toga, potentially to leave this island, which we do know that he has the capabilities of doing so. So we are setting up a fight between Deku and Toga, and we do not see how it's going to end, obviously, but this is set up for that fight. So yeah, when it comes to this chapter, when it comes to the spoilers, this is going to be a very interesting chapter when it comes to My Hero Academia, because there is most likely going to be a lot of exposition, as well as a lot of action and a lot of cool interactions between characters, some confirmation of where certain characters are, whether they're big or small, as well as what is going to be the main tension in this war arc involving Deku and Shigaraki. So yeah, hopefully I could go into more detail in the review proper, but yeah, that's all the spoilers that we have for right now. Hopefully you enjoyed the spoilers. So let me ask you, what did you think of the spoilers for this chapter? Do you think that this chapter is going to be very interesting, or do you think that it's going to be more set up for the fights to come along? Leave your thoughts down in the comments down below, as well as subscribing to my YouTube channel if you want to see more content like this when it comes to My Hero Academia spoilers, discussions, and reviews. So yeah, do all that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in my next video. Goodbye!